Hi everyone, join me today as we paint this cute house in watercolor. I wanted to paint something really special on the first page of my new sketchbook. This is a Potentate 100% cotton square sketchbook. It has got 300 GSM hot press paper inside and has got pages 19 centimeters by 19 centimeters. I particularly like the torn deckled edge to the paper. I find that the Potentate cotton paper is pretty good quality, not as good as some of the papers that I have, but perfect for a sketchbook. I'm going to start with my pencil sketch already on the page, and I'm going to use a kneaded eraser to lift the excess graphite off the page. You will find the link to the free traceable sketch reference for this painting in the description box below or on the screen now. I'm going to use masking tape to put on the four sides of my painting. I'm going to fill the page, so I want to have a little bit of a white border around the edge. I'm going to start by using some Winsor & Newton masking fluid, and I'm going to use the silicone tipped brush to apply it. I'm going to be using an ombre effect for the sky using two different colors, and I just want the freedom to be able to absolutely go for it when I put my two colors down in a wet on wet wash. So for that reason, I'm going to mask off the edge of the balloons as well as the edge of the house so that I can wet the whole area for the sky. And then I'll be able to put my sky colors on the page without being concerned that the color is going to leach into the painting. If you haven't got masking fluid, you can just work around the house and the balloons a little bit more carefully when you put the sky colors down. This is my new Kuretake Art Nouveau set. I think these colors are ideal for what I'm doing today, but you can use any paint set. I'm going to start by mixing some ecru beige. You can also equally use something like Naples yellow or buff titanium. I'm just adding a little bit of saffron yellow in, which now makes it very similar to Naples yellow. I've turned my painting upside down and I've got it on a slight tilt by putting it on another paint palette. I'm going to put water down on the whole area, just not on the house or the balloons. And then I'm going to pick up the yellowish color and put it in from the top. I'm working wet on wet. I'm looking for a more concentrated color at the top, and then I will use my brush to help me to blend the color downwards. Once I've done that, I'll just add a little bit more color at the top and then blend it downwards again. I'm going to let this dry completely so that my two colors don't mix when I come and do the blue color. This smaller pack is the Kuretake Nuance set, and it is an add-on set to the Art Nouveau of complementary colors to that set. I'm going to prepare some cobalt blue for my ombre color. With the painting right way up now, I'm going to repeat the process of putting water down over my whole painting first. I'll take that cobalt blue from the palette that I've mixed, but it's a little bit too watery as I start. So I'm going to dip my brush straight into the palette to get that cobalt blue in a thicker consistency. And that's better now to put at the top and then drag my color down using wet on wet. So I'm not going to use any more color on the brush. I'm going to use what's already on the page and then use the water to wash it downwards and get the graded color effect. Once I get to the bottom, the color at the top has faded a bit, so I'm happy whilst it's still wet to add some more cobalt blue up at the top of the page and get it to blend downwards. I'm just going to rinse off my brush so that there's only water on my brush and get that color spread all the way down to the bottom of the page. Now I want to add some clouds. So whilst this layer is still wet, I'm going to get a small piece of randomly scrunched up tissue paper, and I'm going to start dabbing out the shape of the clouds on the page. I'm just going to keep tapping the tissue on the page, and each time that I do that, it's going to lift a little bit more color, and I'll keep doing that until I've got it as light as I want it to go. I find this to be such an easy and very satisfying way of quickly and easily adding some clouds to the page without any stress. I'm happy with that. I am actually going to come and jazz up these clouds a little bit in a later layer, but this is good enough for now. I'm going to let the whole thing dry before I carry on. The sky is done now, so I can remove the masking fluid. I start by using a kneaded eraser, but I quickly realized that that wasn't such a bright idea because I've now erased all of the pencil lines for my balloons. So then I'm going to change to using my finger to remove the masking fluid. I now can't quite remember where the balloons are, so I'm just going to use a pencil to do that. But this might mean that the balloons are in a slightly different place to what is in your traceable sketch, because I've lost that image now. But anyway, what I put in now will be good enough. I've just put a blob of masking fluid on the card here, and what I'm going to do on each balloon is just do a little accent on each. It's kind of like a reverse C on the right hand side of each balloon, and this is going to make a big impact on the balloons when we come to shading them in to have that white accent color on each. I'm just going to get those accent marks down and then give the whole thing the opportunity to dry before I carry on. If I were you, I wouldn't remove the masking tape at this stage. It is a move that I regret a little bit later on. I would leave it until the painting is complete. I'm now going to do the painting, and I don't think it's necessary for me to jot down every single color that I'm using, because it doesn't really matter, and it also doesn't matter which paint set that you're using. In this layer, I'm also not going for any shadowing. I'm just doing a flat wash. That means for each balloon and also for each segment of the house, I'm just going to put the color down in an even wash. So this is no stress, and enjoy the process. If you are enjoying this video so far, I'd really appreciate it if you would click the like button. That really helps to build my YouTube channel. What I'm also going to do as I'm painting is make sure that I don't paint adjacent balloons so that the color from one doesn't seep into the other. And also from time to time, I'm going to allow the colors to dry before I carry on. So I would also suggest that from time to time you take a little break or use a hairdryer to dry the painting thus far. I'm going to let some relaxing music play now, and I'll see you at the end of the painting layer. I am now going to use my Lyra pencil crayons to do some shading and accents on my house and balloons. These are not watercolor pencils. They won't be activated with water later on. They're just normal pencils. You can use any brand of pencil crayons to do this, and the colors don't have to match the colors that you've put down completely, as long as they complement or are close or are a good shadow color to the color that you have put down already. If you don't have pencil crayons, then you can also get exactly the same effect by doing an additional layer in watercolors if you wish. I just find for the smaller areas like the balloons that using pencil crayon makes it easier to do the shadow color without it blending too far. So with the balloons now, in my mind the sun is on the top right hand corner. That's why there is the accent white on the right hand side. So I'm going to do shadow on the bottom and the left of each of the balloons, grading the color from dark to light as we move towards the center of each balloon. And when I end up using a color that is also on one of the parts of the house, I will also use that color to add some accents on the house, like the wooden slats or the roof tiles when I get there. So let's just take our time and enjoy the process of adding some additional dimension to the balloons and the house. If you are enjoying this tutorial and gaining value from it, I would appreciate it if you would make a donation to me on my Buy Me a Coffee platform. All payments are safe and secure, and I appreciate any and all donations. If you have made a donation, you're an absolute rock star. Thank you. balloons are finished now, so I'm going to remove the masking fluid with my finger, and I think the white highlights really pop beautifully on the balloons, and we can see that now. I'm going to use a Uniball Signo white gel pen to do the cables or the lines connecting the balloons to the house. I just got to activate the gel pen first. Sometimes it takes a little while for the ink to start flowing. So I'll just do that on a scrap piece of paper. And I'm going to use a ruler. I think that I really want these lines very straight. You could try and do it freehand if you wish, but I think that the ruler gives a better effect for this. So I'm going to work through and put my lines in for the balloons, and hopefully the gel pen doesn't let me down and gives me a nice solid straight line for each of the lines that I put down. I just make sure that I lift the ruler slightly when I have finished putting each line down so that I don't drag the ruler and the ink across the page with me. I think that looks great. Then I'm going to use the gel pen to also do a few lines on each window just to show that the window panes are catching the light. And now, as I said, I was going to jazz up the clouds a little bit. I'm using some Chinese white watercolor straight out of the tube. You can just as easily use some white gouache for this. I want it in quite a thick consistency, and that's why I've used it straight from the tube. I've got a bit of water on my brush, and I'm going to go and use this white to do the top of the clouds. If you look at any clouds on a bright sunny day with blue skies, the top of the clouds has always got a bit more of a sharpish edge to it, and that's what I'm trying to achieve here. And this is the reason why I wish I hadn't taken the masking tape off yet. But that's okay, I'm just making sure I don't go over the edge of my painting. I'm going to put the white watercolor down and then from time to time dip my brush into the water and blend this white downwards into the cloud. Because this is watercolor and not gouache, you can see on the left-hand cloud that the color has already started sinking into the page. So I do need to repeat the process 2 or 3 times until the color stays crisp along the top. But as I said, this wouldn't happen if you were using gouache. So you just go along and do this until you are happy with the effect that you've obtained and that the color doesn't continue to disappear into the page. So I'll just keep adding to the top of the cloud and then using a damp brush to blend the white downwards into the body of the cloud. I think that really makes the clouds pop nicely against the beautiful cobalt blue sky at the top. And then I'm just deciding what final bits and pieces and accents that I need to add to finish this off. So with my pencil crayons, I'm just going to add a bit more shadow down the right-hand side of the yellow portion of the house. I'll also add some shadow under the eaves and also under the windowsills. And there's my final sketch. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please make sure to hit the like button. And until next time, bye for now.